For all of those who feel that I should conform to the nepotism policy of the City of Richmond, I have no problem with it at all.
That was Sheriff C.T. Woody 8 months ago, when it was discovered he had 12 family members working for him. He vowed to change that. But fast forward to today, and 8 of Sheriff Woody's relatives still remain on the payroll. 8 News obtained this list of all full-time and part-time employees at the Richmond Sheriff's Office through a Freedom of Information Act request.
These are his 2 granddaughters.
Wow.
This is his sister.
We shared our findings with City Councilman Bruce Tyler.
This is his son.
So his son is still there also.
Councilman Tyler says he would have expected at least most, if not all, of Woody's relatives would have been gone by now.
I'm surprised because I hold C.T. Woody in very high regard, and I have found him to be a man of his word. So I'm a little bit surprised to see that as we come to this point in time, that we still have 8 individuals on payroll.
Our records reveal the sheriff still employs a son, 2 sisters, a brother-in-law, 2 granddaughters, a nephew, and a niece. Many hold top positions at the jail. Records show Woody's son is a lieutenant colonel, making more than $70,000 a year. One of Woody's sisters is an executive assistant, taking home more than $57 grand a year. The other sister handles recruiting for the sheriff's office and earns more than $50,000 a year.
At the end of the day, this looks like he was taking care of his family first.
The sheriff isn't breaking any laws. In Virginia, sheriffs are considered constitutional officers, and the state does not have a nepotism policy. But the City of Richmond does. The policy clearly prohibits hiring family members for a supervisor-subordinate relationship. And in October, City Council formally requested the sheriff abide by the policy.
I would request that our constitutional officers follow the same policy the city does.
We tried to ask the sheriff why there's been so little progress.
Major Baldwin, this is Kerri O'Brien with 8 News.
We called, we emailed, we even stopped by in person, but all of our requests for an interview were ignored. It certainly has been a bitter topic for the sheriff. This was during a press conference back in September.
The sheriff will not be talking about his family. And if any of your questions go in that direction, I can assure you that we will quickly and immediately in this press conference.
City Council President Kathy Graziano says she's been able to reach the sheriff and believes he is actively working to comply with council's request.
I believe he's made the effort. He's got 4 that are gone. I talked to him today. He is working on it, and that's the best I can say.
But Councilman Tyler says the sheriff's family first policy raises concerns over whether taxpayer dollars are being spent properly. He also worries employees might fear retribution should they come forward with allegations of waste, fraud, and abuse, or unprofessional conduct or conditions.
I mean, how do you tell your boss that one of his family members did something wrong and not feel like you're not going to have repercussions? And that's the thing that you have to think about when you're in an environment where the taxpayers are paying for it.
Tyler also thinks the laws in Virginia need to be changed. He hopes council will take the nepotism issue to the General Assembly. In Richmond, Kerri O'Brien, 8 News. Work at the Richmond City Jail has been somewhat of a family reunion for Sheriff C.T. Woody. At one point, he had a dozen family members on the payroll. It's a touchy subject for the sheriff, one he doesn't want to talk about.
Sheriff Kerri O'Brien with 8 News, can we talk to you? Can we talk to you? I want to talk to you about the family members that you still have on your payroll.
Nope.
We'll get back to that in a little bit, but for now, you may remember the discovery of this blossoming family tree within the sheriff's office has had city leaders crying nepotism.
At the end of the day, this looks like he was taking care of his family first.
Feeling the heat, Sheriff Woody said he would make changes.
For all of those who feel that I should conform to the nepotism policy of the City of Richmond, I have no problem with it at all.
That was more than a year ago, September 28, 2011. At the time, Woody also vowed to remove all of his relatives by the end of this year.
Fast forward to today. We're about 6 weeks from the end of the year, and guess what we found? The sheriff has made little progress. This is a copy of all the full-time and part-time employees at the Richmond Sheriff's Office, and as of November 1st, the sheriff still employs 7 family members.
He did say he was going to address the problem within this year. We've seen a little less than half of the family members go.
Councilman Charles Samuel says he doesn't want to rush to judgment, but feels this should be something council and the sheriff can talk about.
We certainly ought to have an open and honest conversation about the appearance of nepotism and the obvious fact that there's still family members there.
Over the past 7 months, 8 News has asked the sheriff to sit down with us and talk about it. We called, we emailed, and recently we were told the sheriff's decision-making process is still within the time frame he reported. But our requests for an interview were denied. So we caught up with the elected official outside the jail.
I want to talk to you about the family members that you still have on your payroll.
Nope,
Why not?
no comment.
And that brings us back to this. You can see the sheriff had little to say.
You said you would remove them by the end of the year. You still have 7 family members on the payroll.
Is it the end of the year?
Got 6 weeks only.
Bye-bye, go talk to your buddy, Mr. Tyler.
Are you going to keep them on the payroll?
Whenever you keep a family member on in a position where it appears that nepotism may be an issue, it's incredibly important that the person have a valid, merit-based reason and not just, this is my relative of some sort.
So who are the 7 relatives the sheriff still employs? His son is a lieutenant colonel and earns more than $70,000 a year. Also on the payroll, 2 sisters. Patty Nicholas, who handles recruiting for the sheriff's department. She takes home more than $50 grand a year. And Pamela Eaton, who is an executive assistant and makes $57,000. Also working at the jail, Pamela's husband, Dwight. He's a lieutenant earning nearly $42,000 a year. A nephew and his wife, Leon and Gian Henry, together they take home more than $74,000 a year. And a granddaughter, Alicia Johnson, a budget clerk who makes about $30,000 annually.
I think it's always important to have people around you that you trust, but you also need to be above any sort of suspicion that it's favoritism versus merit.
Now, the sheriff isn't breaking any laws with his family close by his side. In Virginia, sheriffs are considered constitutional officers, and the state doesn't have a nepotism policy. But city leaders say it looks bad, and they worry the practice of hiring family members can erode trust among the rest of the staff.
I mean, how do you tell your boss that one of his family members did something wrong and not feel like you're not going to have repercussions? And that's the thing that you have to think about when you're in an environment where the taxpayers are paying for it.
The City of Richmond does have a policy against nepotism. It prohibits hiring family members for a supervisor-subordinate relationship. And in October of last year, City Council passed a resolution asking the sheriff to follow the city's policy.
I would request that our constitutional officers follow the same policy the city does.
But beyond asking nicely, council can't do much more than hope he complies.
Much like I can't tell the school board how to spend the money that we provide to them, I can't tell the sheriff, who is an independent constitutional officer, how to run his position or how to run his jail.
Another council member who wishes to remain anonymous tells me they've spoken with the sheriff and that the sheriff plans to keep those 7 family members on staff. That council person says the sheriff believes they're the most qualified for the job. But when we asked the sheriff's spokesperson about that, we were told he was unaware of those allegations and that he still has time to make his decision. We'll keep following this story for you. In Richmond, Kerri O'Brien, 8 News.